You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Your business needs AI solutions that are not only ambitious, but also practical and adaptable. That's where Domo's AI and data products platform comes in. With Domo, you can channel AI and data into innovative uses that deliver measurable impact. Secure AI agents connect, prepare, and automate your data workflows, helping you gain insights, receive alerts, and act with ease through guided apps tailored to your role. Data is hard. Domo is easy. Learn more at ai.domo.com. That's ai.domo.com. Palo Alto Networks confirms a recently patched firewall vulnerability is being actively exploited. CISA warns of an actively exploited iOS vulnerability. Juniper Networks has issued a critical security advisory for an API authentication bypass vulnerability. The acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration resigns after Elon Musk's team sought access to sensitive personal data of millions of Americans. The Eager-B malware framework is actively targeting government agencies and ISPs across the Middle East. Proofpoint researchers document a new macOS info stealer. A new phishing kit uses timesheet notification emails to steal credentials and two-factor authentication codes. JP Morgan Chase will begin blocking Zelle payments to social media contacts to combat online scams. Our guest is Tim Starks from Cyberscoop, discussing his interview with former National Cyber Director Harry Coker and transferring your digital legacy. It's Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is your CyberWire Intel Briefing. Thanks for joining us here today. It is great to have you with us. Palo Alto Networks has confirmed that a recently patched firewall vulnerability is being actively exploited. The flaw, disclosed on February 12th, allows unauthenticated attackers to bypass authentication and execute PHP scripts via the PAN-OS management interface. Threat intelligence firm Grey Noise detected exploit attempts starting February 13th, with attacks originating from nearly 30 unique IPs. The vulnerability can be chained with another vulnerability for remote code execution, posing a serious risk to unpatched systems. A proof-of-concept exploit is publicly available, and researchers warn that roughly 3,500 PAN-OS management interfaces remain exposed. Palo Alto urges immediate patching, emphasizing that securing external-facing management interfaces is critical. Asset Note, which discovered the flaw, coordinated disclosure with Palo Alto, arguing transparency helps defenders track attacks rather than leaving organizations vulnerable and in the dark. CISA has issued an urgent warning about a zero-day vulnerability in Apple iOS and iPad OS, actively exploited in targeted attacks. The flaw, an authorization bypass in Apple's USB restricted mode, allows attackers with physical access to disable security protections on locked devices, potentially exposing sensitive data. Apple confirmed the exploit has been used in highly sophisticated attacks against high-value individuals, possibly by state-sponsored groups. The vulnerability affects a wide range of Apple devices, including iPhone XS and later models. Emergency patches were released on February 10th, and CISA urges users to update before March 5th. While no specific surveillance vendors are named, the attack methods resemble those used by firms like NSO Group. Users should update immediately and enforce physical security measures. Juniper Networks has issued a critical security advisory for an API authentication bypass vulnerability affecting Session Smart Router, Session Smart Conductor, and WAN Assurance Managed Router products. The flaw, with a CVSS score of 9.8, allows unauthenticated attackers to gain full administrative control by injecting spoofed JWTs, bypassing authentication checks. Attackers can exploit this flaw to modify routing policies, intercept encrypted traffic, and move laterally across networks. The vulnerability affects multiple software versions and requires network adjacency but no user interaction. Juniper discovered the issue through internal testing with no known exploitation as of February 18th. Patches are available, and cloud-managed WAN assurance routers received automatic fixes. Organizations should apply updates immediately, audit configurations, monitor API requests, and implement network segmentation to mitigate risks. Unpatched systems pose serious threats to SD-WAN and 5G infrastructure. Turning to Washington, Michelle King, the acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration, resigned after Elon Musk's team sought access to sensitive personal data of millions of Americans. Musk's Department of Government Efficiency has been embedding in federal agencies, claiming to root out fraud and waste. The Social Security Administration, which manages $1.5 trillion in benefits, reported $71.8 billion in improper payments from 2015 through 2022, less than 1% of total disbursements. Musk's team sought access to an internal database containing financial, employment, and medical records, raising serious privacy concerns. Former Social Security Administration Commissioner Martin O'Malley refuted Musk's claims of mass fraudulent payments, calling them baseless. Amid controversy, Trump's nominee for Social Security Administration leadership, Frank Bisignano, awaits Senate confirmation. The White House backs Musk's broader data access initiatives. The Eager-B malware framework is actively targeting government agencies and ISPs across the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Qatar. Linked to the Chinese-aligned APT-27, the malware employs advanced backdoor capabilities through DLL hijacking and process hollowing. The UAE Cybersecurity Council urges organizations to patch Exchange servers, monitor modified DLLs, and review service configurations. Immediate memory analysis is recommended as Eager-B leaves minimal disk traces. A new macOS malware campaign has emerged. On February 18th, Proofpoint reported the discovery of Frigid Stealer, a new macOS info stealer linked to the TA569 threat group, also known as Mustard Tempest and Purple Valhund. TA569, previously known for fake updates and sock goalish attacks, now collaborates with two new groups, TA2726 and TA2727. TA2727 recently deployed Frigid Stealer alongside Windows and Android malware, while TA2726 functions as a traffic distribution service. In early 2025, Proofpoint observed TA2726 redirecting traffic, North American users to TA569 and others to TA2727, which distributed malware like Luma Stealer, Deer Stealer, and Marcher. The Frigid Stealer campaign, detected in January of this year, tricked Mac users into downloading malware through fake update pages. Security experts warn that evolving collaboration among threat actors makes these campaigns increasingly sophisticated and harder to track. Meanwhile, a new XCS set malware variant is targeting macOS users, Microsoft reports. Originally discovered in 2020, XCS set spreads through Apple Xcode, infecting systems when compromised projects are executed. It steals data from chat apps, injects JavaScript, takes screenshots, and encrypts files. The latest variant employs new obfuscation techniques enhanced persistence, and novel infection methods. It randomizes payload generation, drops payloads into shell launch files, and manipulates Launchpad's dock path to execute malware. Microsoft also observed new payload injection techniques using target, rule, and forced strategy methods in Xcode projects. The malware continues to target digital wallets, notes, app data, and system files. With these upgrades, XCS-Set remains a stealthy and evolving macOS threat. Cybersecurity researchers have uncovered a phishing campaign using the Tycoon 2FA phishing kit disguised as timesheet notification emails to steal credentials and two-factor authentication codes. Attackers abuse Pinterest's redirect service to bypass security filters before leading victims to a malicious Russian-hosted site. Tycoon 2FA is evolving, now featuring obfuscated JavaScript, geofencing, and adaptive phishing forms mimicking Microsoft 365, Salesforce, and banking portals. This multi-platform credential theft suggests collaboration with ransomware groups. Threat actors increasingly exploit trusted platforms like Pinterest to evade detection, rendering traditional perimeter defenses ineffective. Experts recommend organizations implement behavior-based detection systems and strict access controls to counter these evolving threats. JPMorgan Chase will begin blocking Zelle payments to social media contacts starting March 23rd to combat a rise in online scams. Nearly 50% of reported fraud cases involving Zelle or wire transfers between June and December of last year originated on social media. Zelle, a widely used digital payment service, offers fast bank-to-bank transfers but lacks purchase protection, making it a prime target for scammers. Chase's updated policy warns that Zelle should only be used to pay trusted individuals, not social media sellers. This change follows a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau lawsuit against Zelle's operator, Early Warning Services, and 3 major banks, including Chase, accusing them of rushing Zelle to market without proper consumer protections. The lawsuit claims hundreds of thousands of users lost over $870 million. Chase may delay, decline, or block payments deemed high risk and request additional transaction details to mitigate fraud risks. Coming up after the break, Tim Starks from Cyberscoop discusses his interview with former National Cyber Director Harry Coker and transferring your digital legacy. Stay with us. Cyber threats are evolving every second, and staying ahead is more than just a challenge, it's a necessity. That's why we're thrilled to partner with ThreatLocker, the cybersecurity solution trusted by businesses worldwide. ThreatLocker is a full suite of solutions designed to give you total control, stopping unauthorized applications, securing sensitive data, and ensuring your organization runs smoothly and securely. Visit ThreatLocker.com today to see how a default deny approach can keep your company safe and compliant. Hey everybody, Dave here. Have you ever wondered where your personal information is lurking online? Like many of you, I was concerned about my data being sold by data brokers. So I decided to try Delete Me. I have to say, Delete Me is a game changer. Within days of signing up, they started removing my personal information from hundreds of data brokers. I finally have peace of mind knowing my data privacy is protected. Delete Me's team does all the work for you with detailed reports, so you know exactly what's been done. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners, Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and use promo code N2K at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/N2K and enter code N2K at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/N2K, code N2K. It is always my pleasure to welcome back to the show Tim Starks. He is senior cybersecurity reporter at Cyberscoop. Tim, welcome back.
Hey, how you doing, Dave?
I am doing well, thanks. I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of key off of two recent articles that you wrote for Cyberscoop. One of them more recent than others, but I wanted to start with an interview that you did not too long ago with Harry Coker, who is the outgoing National Cyber Director. And I thought there were some really interesting insights that came from that interview. I was hoping you could kind of fill us in on some of the things you learned.
Yeah, thanks. I talked to him just as he was about to leave office, and we really covered a huge waterfront. He did. I think one of the things that if you talk to enough government officials and ask them, does your office have enough authorities? They will always say, yes, we have enough. But I think the fact that he was on the way out maybe made him say, actually, maybe we probably do need to have a little bit more of an active role. It's an organization that is a White House organization essentially, but there's also the National Security Council, and they have their own prerogatives and their own powers. And he was making the case that, hey, we're ready to take more of a lead, is what he was saying. He wasn't bad mouthing the NSC. That was just one point he made. He's like, we can take a stronger role on certain things. And one example that he gave of something he wishes he could have had a stronger role in was the legislation that would have said, listen, Office of National Cyber Director, you will have a leading role in deconflicting cybersecurity regulations and making them harmonize a little bit more closely from agency to agency, sector to sector. So that was an example of like a concrete way in which that could change. We talked about everything under the sun. It felt like everything that his office does, and what he still thinks are the biggest outgoing threats, what hasn't been solved, and still has to be solved more. We could go almost anywhere with this, Dave.
Well, I mean, it's a remarkable interview, which is why I wanted to highlight it. It's an interesting moment in time that you captured. As you say, it's an opportunity for him to both look back and look forward. We touched a little bit on the looking back, but I'd love to dig into that a little more. I mean, what are some of the things that he expressed as being achievements, and were there more areas that he felt like they just sort of ran out of time, or maybe they could have done better?
Yeah, I think he was. There was a speech he gave that kind of coincided with this, and I think on the side of things that he thinks that going forward still needs to happen, and this is not necessarily just an ONCD thing. This is just using the acronym for his office. There's just not enough money going out on funds to help state, local, tribal, territorial governments. That was an area that he just doesn't think there's quite enough money, and so it's not just money, but it's also capability and personnel. All those things, of course, relate to money. He liked the idea of ONCD teaming up with the Office of Management and Budget to give not just budget guidance, but guidance direction, something a little bit more concrete to say, hey, this is something, if you look at what we do now, that's great, but we need to be having a more muscular role in that. As far as stuff that he thought that they did good or that they were doing well and could cite as accomplishment, he was of the mind that the writing of the National Cybersecurity Strategy and then implementing it. That was, you and I have talked about that strategy numerous times and how remarkable it was compared to other strategies. There's a lot of work that they've done on trying to get agencies to improve secure internet routing, trying to get memory-safe coding language out there, trying to make everything secure by design, which is something that the CISA office has done a lot of work on as well. So there's a number of areas where we thought they had made some concrete difference, and essentially said, yes, this office is worth having.
Beyond that, I mean, sitting across from him, what was your impression of of his state of mind, how he was feeling about the legacy that he leaves behind with the agency.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy that I don't know how much you had talked to him before he ever, or anybody much really had talked to him before he took this role. So it was a little bit of a mystery box about what we were going to get out of him. I think he had a very interesting approach to things, and his idea was, we want to tackle the hard problems, and when you tackle the hard problems, you're not always going to win. You're not always going to get everything you want. And he had said that repeatedly. I want to tackle the hard problems. I want to tackle the hard problems. The quote at the end of the story, where he talks about what was fun in the job, he said it was getting beaten up with friends and colleagues trying to do the right thing. So it's just a fascinating approach to thinking, oh, I'm gonna go through the ringer. It's gonna be a bad thing that's gonna happen to me, but it's gonna be fun because we're gonna be working on it. It's gonna matter. And I think he had a certain amount of peace of mind even under those circumstances. He says, yes, I didn't win everything, but he knew he wasn't going to win everything. And I think that made it so he was a little bit at peace with whatever he got done.
Well, pivoting to an article you published recently, this is about President Trump making his choice for National Cyber Director. Who's in line here, Tim?
This is another interesting pick. You might recall that at the time when they picked Harry Coker, he was a little bit out of the blue. I mean, I'd been hearing his name for a few weeks and eventually broke the story that he was going to be the pick. But what was interesting is that when he got picked, a lot of people said, this guy doesn't have very much cyber experience. And if you look at Sean Cairncross, the pick for Trump, he has almost none. Coker had some, for sure. And he worked at the NSA. He's a lifelong national security guy. Sean had a little bit of time in the White House where he intersected with national security. And other than that, there's just not a lot of cyber in his background. And even national security is not necessarily cybersecurity. So we don't really know the degree to which he has cyber experience. He worked at he did sort of a foundation-y kind of fellowship job where he talked about emerging tech, and he has been an advisor to companies that are in the tech space. He was the chief operating officer, I think twice, at the RNC, where, I'm not making this up, Dave, but when I typed his name in to the internet, just doing basic Google foo, I then also typed his name in and cyber, and I got one link. One link.
When does that ever happen?
No, I know. It was him saying in 2016 that a Republican congressman saying that the RNC had been hacked was incorrect. That's it. So he's an interesting pick for that reason. And if you want to, be more generous-minded about what that could mean, I made this comparison to my editor recently. My editor right now, Greg Otto, is someone who has covered cybersecurity for a long time and gets it.
Yeah.
But I've had editors who don't know much about cybersecurity and don't think much about it. And they bring a different perspective. They bring a different way of approaching the problem and approaching the way you write stories about it. So the fact that he is an attorney by training, you can look at that as a positive for how people go after problems. The fact that he seems to be someone who's trusted by the Trump administration, based on the fact that when they made changes at the RNC, this was one of the guys they brought in to make those changes. And the fact that he's going to be maybe looking at it a little bit more fresh eyes than people who have been looking at it for a long time and are seasoned vets like me and you, there's a potential that could be an interesting thing. But it is noteworthy that how little cyber experience there is in this. And the person who's going to have, what Congress intended. I almost hate saying this phrase, but they use it a lot. One throat to choke on cyber. The one person to go to when something was going on cyber. So it's fascinating that someone has so little experience on this.
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, I suppose charitably you could say that he has a good amount of leadership experience that he brings to the job. So that and, as you say, loyalty are priorities for this administration.
Definitely. If you were looking to pick somebody with cyber experience who had loyalty, you could find that. But they picked this man, and I'm not denigrating or judging or saying anything nice about the pick for that matter. It is a fascinating dynamic that if you look at the number of people who served in this administration last time, who would like to serve in this administration this time, that do have cyber experience, who could have taken this job on, that exists. But instead, they chose someone and by the way, who also are Trump adherents, people who like Trump and want to work for Trump.
Right.
They nonetheless pick someone here who has less experience. And you could wonder whether this means that they're going to de-emphasize the office. That's another potential way to interpret this. There's a lot of ways to interpret it. It's one of those kind of like, Trump, kind of classic Trump curveballs of like, okay, where did this come from? What's this going to lead to?
Right.
And we're far ways off from finding out what the actual goal of this was and what the outcome will be, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, as
he's got the nomination, but he's got to be Senate confirmed. That's probably be months away, or a month or two at minimum. So it's going to be a long ways away for us to find out what was really going on here, I think.
Yeah. Well, as we so often like to say, time will tell.
Yes.
All right, Tim Starks is senior reporter at Cyberscoop. Tim, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Dave.
And now, a message from our sponsor, Zscaler, the leader in cloud security. Enterprises have spent billions of dollars on firewalls and VPNs, yet breaches continue to rise by an 18% year-over-year increase in ransomware attacks and a $75 million record payout in 2024. These traditional security tools expand your attack surface with public-facing IPs that are exploited by bad actors more easily than ever with AI tools. It's time to rethink your security. Zscaler Zero Trust plus AI stops attackers by hiding your attack surface, making apps and IPs invisible, eliminating lateral movement, connecting users only to specific apps, not the entire network, continuously verifying every request based on identity and context, simplifying security management with AI-powered automation, and detecting threats using AI to analyze over 500 billion daily transactions. Hackers can't attack what they can't see. Protect your organization with Zscaler Zero Trust and AI. Learn more at zscaler.com/security.
This episode is brought to you by Factor. Ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Meet Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal service. Factor's fresh, never-frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Their chefs handle the shopping and chopping, delivering fresh, fully cooked meals to your door. All you have to do is heat and enjoy. Choose from 40 weekly options across 8 dietary preferences, like Calorie Smart and Protein Plus. And if you're looking to lose weight, Factor's keto meals can help you lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks. Savor nutritious, premium meals no matter how busy life gets. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factor50off and use code factor50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Weight loss with Factor Keto based on a randomized controlled clinical trial. Results will vary depending on diet and exercise.
And finally, let's be honest. Most of us spend more time online than in real life. But what happens to all that digital baggage when we log off for good? Estate planning usually focuses on money, property, and who gets grandma's antique clock. But what about your social media, emails, and cloud-stored cat photos? If you don't leave instructions, your loved ones might be stuck navigating a bureaucratic nightmare of forgotten passwords and locked accounts. A handy guide from the New York Times suggests you start by creating a digital directive, a simple document outlining who gets access to your online accounts and what should happen to them. Keep your credentials in a secure password manager or an old-school notebook. Just don't tape it to your monitor. And don't forget to assign a legacy contact for Apple, Google, and Facebook, because if you don't, your profile could end up as a haunting reminder, or worse, a playground for hackers. So plan ahead and save your loved ones the headache. And that's the CyberWire. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. N2K's senior producer is Alice Carruth. Our CyberWire producer is Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Trey Hester with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here tomorrow.